name is Devendra and in today's topic we will discuss about an interesting topic of 5 laws of cybersecurity. So before that, I would like to just introduce about myself. So my name is Devendra and I work as a senior cybersecurity consultant in DataSpace security with overall experience of 5+. So let's begin with the topic. Now let's see what is 5 laws of cybersecurity. So the 5 laws of cybersecurity is basically we can say as a universal truth, the things that have been persisted over the years of change and across multiple industries, where these law of cybersecurity remains the same. So the threats and the appropriate solutions may vary, but the thing across the cybersecurity remains the same. So there are total 5 laws of cybersecurity which are listed down below. So the first one is treat everything like it's a vulnerable. Now second one is assume people won't follow the rules. Third, if you don't need it, get rid of it. And the fourth one, document everything and audit regularly. And fifth and the last is plan for failure, which is one of the most important. So now let's get deep down into it and start looking into this. Now first one, treat everything like it's vulnerable. So there is a very common saying in cybersecurity that you should never assume that this any application or any network is secured. It is always vulnerable. It just needs a smart mind to go and crack it. Okay. So in cybersecurity, cyber criminals are constantly adapting their methods. User can't afford to assume anything is 100% safe. Even be it your phone, be it your system, be it anything, it's not at all safe. Even a trusted partner could make a mistake that jeopardize a company's security, in which case too much trust could become their downfall. So this doesn't mean that the business should assume everything is hostile, but yes, we have to be very careful. So there are various technologies which are booming these days, be it like starting from mobile phone. So when the cell phones were there, everyone thought that these are very secure, but how they became vulnerable? When Bill Gates introduced a unified Microsoft operating system, people thought it's safe, but over the years we have seen it's vulnerable. Same goes with many. The Apple is why the Apple is so trusted and so because it is a bit hard to crack, but yes, it is not at all impossible to do it. We can go and crack it. It just needs a smart mind to do it. So one example is restricting access to that users and partner that can only access that what they need. Another is requesting verification of our companies. Cybersecurity becoming partnering with them. Not every user needs to take it to extremes, but the principle of verification is very must to make sure that everything what we take care is safer from vulnerability. Now coming back to the second one, which is assume people won't follow the rules. So when we build some application, so we built any operating system or anything, we should never think that the user will go by the rules what we have made them follow. So suppose there are multiple steps like step 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and when we build any application or any software, we assume that the user will go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. However, this is not the condition. Any VTS mind, anyone with a curiosity can directly try to jump from 1 to 4, and that's where the vulnerability exists. What if someone is not allowed to view some page or any access to some resource, and we think that the user will not go and type anything from the URL, change from the URL, try to access it. But however, what if they try to do it? What if the user just simply manipulates the URL or they manipulate any request and response, and in that case they will get access to the data which they are not intended to get. So this is very common. So the common procedure where we try to handle these kind of scenarios. These kind of scenarios should always be handled, be it in any form, be it you restrict, be it you give them any error message, be it you lock out them. So we have seen in many of the banking websites, so after sometimes they will just log you out, or if you try to make any kind of manipulations, if you try to enter any 3-time any passwords which are not correct, they will just block you. They will assume that you are not following the correct rule, you are trying to do any kind of manipulation and try to get access. And that's where we have to be very careful and handle these kind of situations very carefully. If these kind of things are missed, that leads to a lot of damage to the application or to the company. So a Facebook vulnerability where a user could go ahead and perform a brute force attack that caused a lot of damage to the company and jeopardized their stock markets, everything. So people often pick convenience over security, and even if they know better, compliance is a human nature. So cybersecurity professionals should assume that users won't act as they should. Of course, this doesn't mean companies should abandon cybersecurity training, but however, they should always take care of this. Coming to the third part, which is if you don't need it, get rid of it. So during the building of any applications or any operating system, any software development, there is a common practice which developers will do, that if any kind of functionality or any kind of changes which are occurring, they won't go ahead and delete the code. They will just comment it, or they will try to do any kind of simple manipulation. But if that thing is not used by that application, still that will be in the code. So that's the thing which comes into the picture, that if you don't need it, you have to get rid of it, or else if these kind of things are getting accessed by the cyber criminals, that becomes a big vulnerability and jeopardizes the company's data. So cybersecurity is complicated, and it grows increasingly complex as the world embraces more technology. So business can mitigate this complexity by purging any unneeded assets, reducing the attack surface. So we have to be always very careful. Whatever we don't need, we have to get rid of it. So securing every device, software solutions in the workplace takes time, efforts and money. So these kind of things when come into the picture, if any kind of data leakage or anything happens, that not only the company loses their image, but they loses a lot of money and time to get those things fixed. So the more there is to secure, the more complicated it is. So we all know in today's world, when everyone is going into a cloud service, or everyone is coming over the internet, be it small scale business, be it a big scale business. So we have to be very careful that we do not get threat under the cyber security. Coming back to the fourth point, so it is said that document everything and audit regularly. So document everything and audit regularly comes under compliance for every organization. So what happens is, when these kind of organizations, when they are purchasing any third-party applications, or they are purchasing any license of third-party applications which they are implementing within their operating system or within their application, so thing happens is, if that application is vulnerable and the company which is using that application is not auditing it or is not making a note of it, so ultimately that company will face the loss, where the data or a vulnerability will exist, and the cyber criminal can use a zero-day exploit to go ahead and steal their data or get access to the system. Could be anything. So it's always recommended to please go ahead and document everything. So whichever tools or whichever third-party applications which are being used, that should be regularly documented and audited to see if those kind of applications are not causing the trouble to any data leakage or anything. So a cyber security professional will always make sure that things are getting audited regularly, they are getting documented regularly, and within that auditing reports everything has to be seen if any kind of critical issues are there or not. So every time a company adds a new device, downloads an application, amends a policy, or makes any other changes, they should record it in any document, otherwise they could forget about it and overlook adapting and securing it, or accidentally create a vulnerability. This step will help abide by the third security law that reveals how to improve and get rid of the things. Now, for fifth and the most important part is plan for failure. What if even when we try, what if a very smart cyber criminal has come and is able to bypass the restrictions what we have done, and somehow our data is stolen, or the application is compromised. So in that case, what has to be done? There should always be a plan B ready by a cyber security professional to make sure that the application is not damaged, and the damage what has been done can be recovered. So users will make mistakes, and hackers will always find a zero-day exploit to get past defenses. Cybersecurity professionals should do all they can to prevent the attacks. They should always need a plan B. These typically include backups of mission critical systems, data, and a way the information may affect parties quickly. The specific will vary, but the core idea remains the same. Breaches shouldn't be compromised an entire system. We all have known the ransomware attack, WannaCry attack. That was a big vulnerability that shut down their whole operating system of big organizations, where their data was encrypted, and they were the cyber criminals demanded ransom to go ahead and give them the decrypt key. So in that case, we have to be always ready with the plan B's of what we have to do, how we have to secure everything, what we have to do to take the backup of the data. What if the data should be backed up regularly? If this kind of attack should happen, then the user should always have a plan B to get themselves out of it. So coming back to the last part of the conclusion. So in the conclusion, so we can all like to agree that the first part, where we should not trust that the application would be secure 110%, right? And the most important part is never trust anyone blindly. So these kind of blindly trusting is leading to one of the most successful attacks which are possible. We conclude it as a phishing. So we can see that many organizations, be it a multinational organizations, are initially training their candidates, their employees, to avoid these kind of phishing attacks. So there are separate trainings which are going to identify how a phishing attack could be detected, and they are encrypting, or they are including the plugins for phishing. So if in case you found any kind of phishing attack, you can directly report that phishing attack, and that could be taken care by the team. So we have seen that a lot of phishing attacks are possible, where an employee is somehow manipulated. They are allowed to make any downloads. They are forced to make any downloads, or provide them any information, where a cyber criminal can go ahead and compromise the system. So they are not a conclusive list of best practices, but however, if we follow these 5 roadmaps, we can make the cyber security more and application more secure by applying these kind of 5 cyber security laws. And if anyone is unsure about how to start and where to go with cyber security, they can always go with these 5 foundation rules of making sure that the application is not 110% secure. It should always have a backup, and it should always not include the things which are not in the use of an application. So if we go ahead and try to add, the developers will just add the database username, passwords in the code by commenting it, just to make sure that whenever they want they can access it. but they do not know that if the code itself is compromised, that time the data, the login, username, credentials will be easily accessible by the cyber criminals, and just a simple line in the code have compromised the whole application. So we have to be that smart to exclude those things and make sure the application is secure. So these are the 5 laws of cybersecurity. I would like to thank you everyone to just have listened to this, given their time, and happy learning. Bye everyone.